It's my CRF450X. Check this symptom out. Here goes the electric start. All right. Been dealing with this one for a little while. And I've owned this bike like 10 years, pretty close. And it's always done that. And I kind of thought it was normal, but I've ran into a couple people with 450Xs and they start beautiful. So I was like, let me look into this. And I've actually done valves and stuff on this. And each time I've done it, I've gone through and done all the valve adjustments. But one of them, I didn't really interpret the manual right. So I want to share this with you. So a little backstory. The battery, I've gone through several batteries. You know, batteries fail, thinking this would be better. This is like the highest output lithium ion I could get. The starter was making horrific bushing noises, so I changed the starter. Kind of makes sense now why I killed that starter and probably why it was so hard on batteries, but it took me a while to figure this out. When you go to do a valve adjustment on this, there's the normal valve adjustment stuff, which I would expect you may be familiar with, like that one being the exhaust valve. If we were to set exhaust valve lash, you know, we'd measure here. Then after that, there's a secondary measurement, and it's over here on this decompressor arm. If you see this piece right here, like I'm going to actually move the Kickstarter out of the way, because that's the thing. I've been able to use this bike for a long time. I just would kickstart it, and electric start would sometimes kind of work, but once it was hot, it wouldn't really work. So that little decompressor arm, when it's at low RPMs, is going to swing up out of the way or down. I actually don't remember. And what it should do is push down on this little rocker arm right here. This little rocker arm should push down on those valves and allow exhaust gas, you know, or really compression to leak out the exhaust valves. And that'll lower the compression effectively, right? So when I go to set this up, I'll show you what I'm following. Factory manual, logically, and this is where it got confusing for me. It talks about the right exhaust valve clearance, right? So let's say we're shooting for 11 thousandths of an inch. Then it says the decompressor should be 14 thousandths. And it kind of explains it, and I thought that I had understood this, but I'm going to tell you where I went wrong. So if it's showing the right of 11 plus 14, that sounds to me like 25 thousandths. So I know that I'm not the only one who's done this, because when I went to adjust that, I go ahead and I bring this feeler gauge in. It's definitely going to be a little tough to get, but like right here, right at that adjustment, I would actually, typically what I would do is, I'm going to pull this up just a bit. I bring it in here like this. Cool. And as I understood the manual, I should get 25 thousandths there. And so I set it to 25 thousandths, and this is exactly what I get. So once I figured out that, you know, this was most likely the issue, I'm going to do a basic adjustment here. Watch this. Okay, and to do this, I got to move that decompressor kind of like up, right? And then you can see it can be kind of a hassle, but if you notice that 25 thousandths right there, that's actually more than 25 anyway, but when I had it at 25, it wouldn't really work all that well. So this is what I finally figured out. I had to hold this up, kind of get it to hang up for just a second. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust that more to like that 14, 15 number. All right, I just want to make sure my valves are all the way released so that my setting this is accurate. Okay, I'm just going to rough this in, and then I'll get my feeler gauge over here and I will set it, but I want to show you something so you understand. Okay, that's more reasonable. So I'm just going to snug this up for a quick second. And I got my feeler gauge right here. So I'll check this, make sure I'm happy. And what I'm doing is, I'm not going to follow this, because I followed this and that's the result I got. I'm skipping this and I'm just going straight for the 14 thousandths. Cool. Ignoring the 11, just the 14. Just the 14. All right, so a nice tight 14. Obviously with the gas tank off, it's not going to run, but check this out. Kind of silly, because I've lived with this for a long time, so this is what I think happened. I think the person who owned the bike before me did the valve adjustment the same way that I did it, following the manual. Then when I went to go ahead and redo it, that thing was adjusted right about where it's at, and I did like a 25 thousandths, and I'm like, oh, 25 thousandths, that's good. And I lived with a bike that wouldn't crank right for all these years. So I've read a lot of stuff on the forums and on the internet, and people saying a lot of different things, but nobody really showed this. So I kept, I was looking at like starter voltage drop or starter solenoid voltage drop and ground connection to the case, and looking at a lot of things that would cause the starter to not crank strong, but having too much compression would do it.